Hey everybody, welcome back to Twinkle Tunes and Lighting. Today I'm going to show you how to build one of these. It's a 3-foot custom light bar made out of seed pixels, 12 volts to be exact. Stick around, check it out. So I started this build with a simple idea. I wanted a light bar that I could put anywhere on my house, anywhere in my display. I want it durable. I wanted it small enough to where I could put it upright or sideways, or I could just put it inside or outside of a prop. I use seed pixels because they're small, they're bright, and they spread light pretty evenly across this thing. And at 12 volts, they can handle a lot longer runs than my typical 5 volts that I'm using. The bar itself is exactly 40 inches long, and it contains 40 pixels on the inside. That gives me the coverage across, that gives me kind of that old school look, that old school, what's that word? What's the word where it's like the lights go around? Oh yeah, marquee. Gives you like that old school marquee look. Now, a thing that I did do differently here is that if I'm using a prop or any type of pixels that have a different voltage, I make sure those have a different type of connector on them. I don't want to get the voltages mixed up with the controller. So I have 5 volt controllers, 12 volt controllers, 24 volt controllers, and each one of these have a different type of connector on them. So the 12 volt can only plug into the 12 volt, and the 5 volt can only plug into the 5 volt, and so on and so on. So these connectors are different. My 5 volt, I use Raywu connectors. So on this one, I switched to a 14 gauge 3 conductor connector that you just get off of Amazon. I don't have a lot of 12 volt things in my arsenal, but the ones I do, I want a different connector on them. So this is what the connector that I'm using. Works great and solders up real nice, and so this is what I did. With the connector change, just trust me, it works out a whole lot better. It's a lot easier than trying to label and remember your labels, and then the label falls off and you can't remember if this was a 12 volt pixel or a 5 volt pixel and so on and so forth. I just put a completely different connector on the end of it. Putting this together and assembling it is pretty straightforward. First, I laid out the pixels evenly along the bar to make sure the spacing looked right. And then I secured them in place with a bit of hot glue and ran the wiring neatly along the track. The seed pixels have a top and a bottom to them. If you take a seed pixel and look at it, it has a larger side and a smaller side. I took the larger side, put that face up. I think that projects more light than the other side. So that's what I put on the top there and made sure that those were all facing up. The hot glue is just to secure it, make sure when I put the cover back on the track, those don't get spun. I also want to test the bar as I built it. Anytime you're working with pixels, especially seed pixels, it's a good idea to power them up partway through and confirm everything is lighting as expected. That way you don't finish the entire build only to realize that you had a bad solder joint or flipped polarity or something like that. Why seed pixels and why 12 volts? Good question. I don't know if you asked the question, but I'm going to pretend that you did. Here's why. Seed pixels are tiny and almost disappear into your build. That makes them fantastic for props where you don't want the hardware to show, or you just want just the light to show. They also diffuse beautifully, especially behind a frosted cover or plexiglass like I have here. At 12 volts, these pixels can stretch longer without any noticeable dimming compared to 5 volts. That means fewer power injection points, less wiring, and cleaner overall build. For a bar like this, it just made sense to go with 12 volts, especially with the longer runs that I'm doing on the trim of my house. And here is the finished product. With 40 pixels, I can run smooth chases, fades, or even map it as part of a larger display in xLights. You can mount it above the windows, use it as an accent under the eaves, or even add it to stage lighting setups for a punchy, colorful effect. I even used the same product to trim out all the windows around my house. I think it looks real smooth, real nice, and it's a nice clean look. I'm all about curb appeal, you know. When my neighbors drive by, I don't want it to look like a yard sale of cables hanging in the air. So this ended up looking really cool. Check out some of my windows right here. Looks awesome. I like it. It looks good during the day too. And that's it. The 3-foot light bar. Super simple, super easy to build, yet really, really effective. Adds a lot of punch, adds a lot of cool things to your show, and you can build them for super cheap too. So check out the links below. Get all the products that I talked about on here with all the affiliate links that I have. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for gosh dang it, why can I never get the closing? Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Hey, have fun doing this. Building stuff is cool.